So our next presenter will be Scott Hogg. Scott began his geophysical career with Norway Survey Corporation in 1972. He pioneered some of the early digital processing methods used by the airborne geophysical industry, including decorrugation and micro-leveling. He joined Aerodat in '81 and developed more versatile data processing, management, and interpretation software. As well, he introduced new technologies, including an helicopter transient electromagnetic system and helicopter towed magnetic gradiometer. In '93, he joined Spider Exploration to manage and interpret their James Bay project that led to the Ring of Fire discoveries. In '98, he created Scott Hogg and Associated, a geophysical consulting company involved with base metal and kimberlite projects around the world. More recently, he has developed the LEGT 3-axis gradiometer system to set a new standard for low noise, high-resolution magnetic mapping. Thank you.
Thanks very much for that. Ladies and gentlemen and fellow prospectors, the geophysical history of discoveries in the James Bay lowlands, from the Victor kimberlite to the Ring of Fire copper and nickel deposits, is an interesting and instructive story. This is the... No.
That's your laser. That's green is forward, red is back.
Okay. The James Bay lowlands is an area of about 100,000 square kilometers. The Archean basement rocks are covered by up to 400 meters of Paleozoic limestone and further capped by glacial till and bog. With rare exception, the surface geology was uniform, limestone. Gold and base metal deposits surround the area to the south and to the west, but the lack of outcrop and the remote location discouraged exploration. The following presentation is chronologic and spans a period of about 50 years. Modern exploration began in the 1960s when De Beers began a mineral sampling program of the major rivers of Ontario. The Attawapiskat was one of these rivers, and it's reported that a microdiamond was recovered in 1963. Selection Trust also have been mineral sampling and were drawn to the Moose River Basin. In 1980, Selco and Esso Minerals carried out a magnetic survey at the south end of the James Bay lowlands. The survey is flown at 250-meter line spacing and 65-meter terrain clearance. This slide presents a sample of the total magnetic field map. Small, shallow source magnetic anomalies are clearly evident. A follow-up drill program identified the source of some of these shallow intrusives. In the end, 45 anomalies were tested, of which 35 were identified as alkaline, 7 as carbonatite, and 4 as massive alnoite. Alnoite's are relative to kimberlite, visually similar, but not a diamond host. This program came to a halt. The De Beers sampling program from the 60s finally bore fruit in 1986 with the discovery of the uniform kimberlite on the banks of the Attawapiskat River. In 1998, De Beers carried out a narrow magnetic survey of the surrounding area and quickly located about 18 kimberlite pipes. The original De Beers survey is not public, but this slide presented here is from the later Spider KWG fixed-wing survey, flown at 200-meter line spacing and 80-meter terrain clearance. If the map's filtered to isolate the near-surface magnetic signature, the anomalies from the young, shallow pipes are unmistakable. Unlike the Selco experience to the south, all of these shallow anomalies proved to be kimberlite. If exploration were always so easy. The identification of shallow sources in this region did have limitations. If the intrusive was small or located on a narrow basement anomaly, higher resolution magnetic data was important. This was the case for the McFadden kimberlites. They're superimposed on a base magnetic linear. The presence of the pipes is not evident in the fixed-wing map. However, they are clearly defined by a helicopter survey on the right. This particular survey data set was flown by Debut Diamonds in 2011 using the Heli-GT system. At this point, I'd like to jump back in time to illustrate the converse, that some of these kimberlites could have been discovered with much lower resolution survey. In 1966, the GSC completed their regional magnetic program over the area, and the survey is flown at 800-meter line spacing and 300-meter terrain clearance. The magnetometer had a resolution of about 1 nanotesla and clearly resolved several shallow magnetic anomalies of 3 to 15 nanotesla amplitude. Without knowing it at the time, the survey recorded the anomalies of 3 kimberlite pipes, including the Victor mine. Interestingly, the GSC only published the contour maps of the area, and with a 10 nanotesla contour interval, the maps did not capture these profile responses. Returning to 1992, to this point, De Beers had managed to keep their discoveries under wraps, and Spider and KWG began their own exploration program in the Attawapiskat area. In 1993, they initiated a systematic fixed-wing survey at 200-meter line spacing and 80-meter terrain clearance. The program began in the east, covering the De Beers discoveries, and extended westward. By 1996, the survey had reached and extended past the western boundary of the sedimentary basin. The total survey at the end represented 153,000 line kilometers. The kimberlite exploration program was based entirely on magnetic interpretation. The map and profile data was evaluated, and any anomaly that appeared to originate near surface was modeled. If a shallow source was identified or confirmed with reasonable lateral dimension and susceptibility, it became a priority target. The program began with the rapid identification and confirmation of the McFadden pipes, but quickly came to the end of the shallow magnetic targets. The easy pickings were over. This anomaly kept drawing our attention. It presented an isolated 45 gamma feature, completely out of context with the surrounding magnetic fabric. It had a modeled width of 240 meters, steep dip, moderate susceptibility, completely in line with the known kimberlites nearby. However, the interpreted depth estimates ranged from 90 to 130 meters. It was clearly not a shallow pipe. The anomaly was drilled, and a diamond-bearing kimberlite was confirmed. This was called the Kyle 1 and was age-dated at about 1.1 billion years. The discovery of an older kimberlite completely changed the exploration model. Shallow sources were still the ideal, but now deeper sources with similar magnetic attributes presented new kimberlite targets. Since kimberlite placement tends to be locally random, anomalies that contrasted with the local magnetic fabric presented the most promise. By 1996, exploring westward, 4 more of these older, deeper pipes had been identified. By 1997, a total of 36 magnetic anomalies had been drill tested. Of these, 2 were the younger McFadden pipes, 5 were the older Kyle pipes, and the non-kimberlite results provided some insight to the basement geology. Granite, gneiss, volcanics, and even massive pyrite were encountered. Although some of these drill results were interesting from a gold and VMS perspective, the focus remained on kimberlite. The aeromagnetic exploration program extended beyond the western margin of the basin with reconnaissance mapping at 400-meter line spacing, with the intention to infill to 200 meters the following season. Exploration is never straightforward. In 1997, Bre-X landed. Financing died, and the program went into hibernation for 4 years. In 2001, it was reawakened when Spider and KWG formed a joint venture with De Beers. The JV set out to drill test a selection of anomalies in the western sector where the limestone cover was thin to absent. A percussion drill program tested a number of anomalies, but none proved to be kimberlite. However, on the 9th hole, a new exploration twist occurred. This slide presents the model results from an anomaly of interest based on the fixed-wing survey at 400-meter line spacing. The amplitude was 800 nanotesla. The magnetic model indicated a steeply dipping source with an estimated width of 100 meters, a reasonable form for kimberlite. Unfortunately, the calculated susceptibility is well above that expected from kimberlite. Luckily, the isolation and singularity of this anomaly was very intriguing, enough to order a drill test. Significant VMS copper and zinc mineralization was identified, and this became known as the McFolds 1 VMS deposit. Following its discovery in 2001, De Beers carried out a helicopter EM survey using the Fugro HEM system. As one would expect, the distinct conductive anomaly was associated with the deposit. And a second VMS deposit named the McFolds 2 was identified to the north. De Beers withdrew from further participation in base metal exploration. In 2002, exploration financing was still difficult, and Spider and KWG elected to sell its fixed-wing magnetic data to the OGS for eventual public release. At the same time, SHA was given permission to sell its aeromagnetic interpretation to Condor Diamond Corporation, another junior exploration company. This database contained magnetic model results for many isolated singular anomalies, all with the basic kimberlite form of steep depth and significant width. The subset with shallow depth and moderate susceptibility was related to the young kimberlites at the beginning of the program. The broader subset of only kimberlite form and moderate susceptibility led to the deeper Kyle discoveries. With the McFolds discovery to the west, the subset of interesting isolated targets broadened further to include those with kimberlite form and higher susceptibility. And on this basis, Condor staked a number of claims in the region. Presented here is one of the selected anomalies, an isolated 700 nanotesla response. It lies near surface and had an interpreted width of 190 meters and high susceptibility. This target was staked by Condor in 2003, and 4 years later it would prove to become the Eagle 1 nickel deposit. Returning to our timeline of 2003, in light of the McFolds VMS discovery, an airborne EM survey was a logical next step in the transition from kimberlite to base metal exploration. Spider, KWG, Noront Resources, and McDonald Mines shared the cost of an EM survey. This Fugro Geotem survey with the Geotem 1000 system was comprised 2,100 line kilometers. The line spacing was pushed out to 300 meters to accommodate a very limited budget. We managed and interpreted the survey on behalf of the group. This would prove to be a very productive survey. For reference here, how does that work? I have to look up. Okay, yeah, okay. This is the McFolds deposit, and this is the nickel deposits down here, or the future chrome deposits in this area, and the Eagle 1 nickel deposit down here. This slide presents the interpreted geotem results over the McFolds deposit. The profile response shown is from the relatively late time channel number 16. The Z receiver axis is red and the X is in blue. The McFolds 1, 2, and 3 deposits are weak but clearly defined. They all had copper zinc mineralization and provided an incentive to explore further. Other exploration companies were coming to the area, and land positions quickly became very complicated. Some conductive zones crossed property boundaries, and the alignment of property, financing, and geophysical anomalies was very complicated. Deals were made, and a number of ground mag and horizontal loop surveys were completed in 2004, and it was during this period that Noront acquired the claims of Condor. Anomaly 14 in this illustration was associated with the isolated magnetic anomaly, shown in the background color. The profile response suggested a steep northwest dip, and the conductance was 68 Siemens, the highest encountered in the survey. In 2007, 4 years later, Noront was able to drill this target and discovered the Eagle 1 nickel deposit. When this news was released, the Ring of Fire exploration play was fully underway. The initial discovery of chromite had begun a year earlier in February 2006. A joint venture of Free West, Spider, and KWG began a drill program south of McFalls Lake. A section of the geothem survey is presented here. The conductor 4A axis had a conductance of 57 Siemens and was identified as massive sulfides, primarily pyrite. Anomaly 6 was a simple, possible weak bedrock conductor, and conductor rate was interpreted as a broad area with an unusually high conductance of 50 Siemens. This unusual conductive patch coincided with an intense magnetic anomaly, and it was speculated that local weathering in the rock might have been the cause. In March 2006, the drill hole shown encountered thick peridotitic sills and 2 beds of chromite. This was the first indication of chromite in the area. Later, ground gravity surveys would prove to be the ideal method to trace the Big Daddy chromite that follows the southeast margin of the conductive zone 8. With the discovery of Big Daddy, chromite was added to the Ring of Fire inventory. Interestingly, and perhaps coincidentally, there was one other broad area of high conductance identified by the survey. Anomaly 15 had a conductance of 45 Siemens and lay just south of the Eagle 1 deposit. Later, it would be found to be coincident with the Black Horse chromite deposit. I believe that the Spider KWG initiative that started with kimberlites and ended with nickel and chrome was an unparalleled geophysical success story in a greenfield sense. These geologically bind discoveries are a testament to the effectiveness of airborne geophysics for greenfield exploration. The Spider KWG initiative was instructive in many ways. It's demonstrated that there may be no better exploration scenario than young kimberlites penetrating a thick cover of older sedimentary rock. It's also demonstrated the value of magnetic modeling for both kimberlites and sulfides, and has demonstrated the importance of anomaly singularity, features out of context with their surrounds. And perhaps most importantly, if an isolated geophysical anomaly from a magnetic, electromagnetic, or gravity survey stands out without confident geological explanation, a drill test may pay a large dividend. In closing, major kudos must be given to the managers and financiers of Spider, KWG, Noront, and Free West that kept this project moving until fruition. Thank you.
Probably got time for a question. Scott? Yay, nay?
Okay.
Comment?
It's very good.
Oh,
I just want to continue the use of geophysics. We used a lot of borehole geophysics at the Eagle discovery.
Yeah.
But for me, the best borehole geophysical hole that we drilled was the very first one, where we went through hundreds of meters of massive sulfide.
Yeah.
To me, that's borehole drilling, and that's borehole geophysics. But anyway, thank you very much. And like I said, it's been a continuing thing and been a lot of geophysics and very good, very well done geophysics.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks,
Yeah.
Scott.
Thank all our speakers, and thank you all for showing up. There's a technical luncheon at, over at the Royal York. Some of you may have tickets for that. And then just to flag again, we have the presentations of the top Frank Arnott Award starting at 2 o'clock. So hope to see you back. Thank you very much.